From the WREY studios in North Carolina, it's Triangle Alive, proclaiming the gospel to the Triangle area, giving glory to the Lord in word and in song. Join us in lifting up the name of Jesus on Triangle Alive.
Well, my brothers and sisters, listen, you are getting ready to experience impact. My friend and my brother, a man of God that I've known for many years. In fact, we started preaching the same year in 2007, Pastor Aaron McNair Jr. Triangle Alive at this time. Welcome my friend, my brother, Pastor Aaron McNair Jr. How are you, man?
Bless you, man. Good to be here with you.
Man, I'm so glad to have you with us tonight. We're so excited to have you with us on Triangle Alive. Listen, man, what I love about you is the consistency. I met you several years ago, man, and you were then the same brother then that you are today. Always found faithful and serving. Man, just talk about, your beginning and where you are today.
Thank you so much, man. I grew up relatively in Greenville, North Carolina as a pastor's kid. So church has been my life. Where I am now is I have a wonderful family.
Okay.
Wonderful family, wonderful wife. Who's also in ministry. We grew up with relatively same backgrounds. Both of our parents are pastors, and we have a 16-month-old daughter. And I'm loving family, man. I'm loving family. My wife is a singer. She's a minister of music at our church. She's a praise and worship leader. She is a prayer warrior, and she's a great help to us in ministry. So I'm just enjoying my family, man.
That's wonderful, brother.
Yes,
That's
sir.
a wonderful thing, man. And listen, I look forward to that. I'm getting married in February of 2016.
Yes, sir.
So I'm excited about that. Hey, Amberly. But listen, man, I talk about even the beginning of your ministry, man. I remember when I met you, you were actually playing the organ and you were serving your father at Mount Moriah. Just talk about that experience and how that led to where you are.
Okay, man. Talking about minister of music, I grew up as a drummer.
Okay.
Started out on drums, but there came a need in the ministry, actually, and that's where I transitioned to playing the organ, being the minister of music. I actually started just to help out, and it grew from there to being the minister of music for our local church and then for our fellowship. So I did it just to actually help my father, and so I fell in love with music, fell in love with playing the organ. And playing the keyboard and that sort of thing. But I love it, man. I love it.
And from playing the organ, serving your father, Apostle McNair, God just began to use you in that area. You would play for him while preaching and other portions of the service. And then God just began to grip your heart and call you to the gospel ministry. Talk about that experience, man, transitioning from just the musician to the preacher.
Well, it wasn't really too hard of a transition. Preaching has been a part of my life. At the age of 11, I think I did my first public speaking with my father pushing me, guiding me and training me. So throughout my life, preaching and music were side by side.
Okay.
So I love them both dearly. With my father, working with my father in ministry is probably one of the greatest things that I love to do. Working with my father, I just love the importance of sonship. The importance of sonship. I am one who doesn't understand different sons and their perspective in today's time. Many sons have this thing of what I can get from my father.
Okay.
We're not understanding that sonship is a dual responsibility. Not only do I have a responsibility to my father, and my father has a responsibility to me also. We have to understand it's not just what I can take, but what I can give.
Okay.
Sonship in my generation, we're not understanding the importance of how we are supposed to be helpers to our Father's ministry. The greatest example of sonship in the Bible is Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
Who came down and he did not come in his own mindset, but he said, not my will, but thine will be done.
Yeah.
And he wanted to make sure he brought his Father's vision to pass. And after he brought his Father's vision to pass, then his Father says, I will give you a name that's above every name.
Yes,
so
sir.
it's a dual responsibility, not only what our fathers can do for us, but what we as sons can do for our fathers.
Man, that's amazing, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
you know, one example of not waiting and not returning what your father should do for you is in the Bible, the prodigal
Right.
son.
Right.
He was just so invested in what he can receive from his father rather than thinking about ways to give back. And of course, you know, God restored him, but there are certain things that we can escape in just being servants and being
Right.
sons. So,
Right.
you know, I certainly thank God for that, man. And as serving, you continued to go forward, man, and you started preaching and began to help in the ministry.
Right.
But it didn't stop there for you. In fact, that was really just the beginning. Talk
sir.
about that, how God led you to where you are today with Mount Moriah-Raleigh.
Well, serving has its perks.
Yes.
When you are a servant, you get to a place where you are already prepared when God opens the door. Serving my father has brought us to the place where we are one church in 4 locations.
Okay.
Farmville, Raleigh, Wilson, and Charlotte, North Carolina. I have been given the distinct honor to pastor the first church plant of our fellowship, which is our Mount Moriah Community Church, Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
My father actually started it years ago, and he was heading it, but his schedule, his pull on ministry, it was pulling him too much. It was pulling him too much. As a son, I had to look in and see that, you know, and tell him, hey, let me do this for you. Let me push this for you. Let me carry your vision further with this ministry. And then he decided that it was time to allow me to take over the Raleigh location. So that's where we are. We're at the Raleigh location now, Mount Moriah Community Church, and God is blessing us. God is blessing us. We actually went through a relaunch strategy.
Okay.
We went through a relaunch phase with our ministry. I have been pastor for 3 months now. We went through our relaunch strategy. With our relaunch, we actually just reintroduced our ministry to the community. Just did a reintroduction, revitalized the ministry, a new vision, a new force, a new thrive to the ministry, and it pushing the ministry further. I have a great group of people.
Sure.
A great group of people who are working hard, and they are untiringly working. And it's actually shocking to see all that they're doing and how the church is growing.
In fact, I think just a few weeks ago, you guys had a Mount Moriah Community Day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And talk about that, man, a little bit.
Well,
about what you
National
guys did.
Back to Church Sunday was our first community day.
Okay.
We actually took time to hit the streets weeks before just to invite people to come and be a part of what we were doing. On that day, we had free haircuts, we had free food, free clothes, free shoes, a lot of things that we were giving away just to the community. We didn't church them to death. We just brought them in and ministered to them holistically. And that I thought that was very important. We serviced over 80 people on that day, on that Sunday, people who have never heard of us. You know, we're being two months old at the time, people who have never heard of us. And so it was wonderful to see all of those people from the community come, and they actually needed what we had to offer. So that was wonderful. The second thing that we did was just this past Saturday. We have a student from a local university who has cerebral palsy, and he actually plays the keyboard for the ministry. And it's kind of hard for him to. It was kind of hard for him to get into the building, and so some of the donators, Stock Supply Company, and different donators, they volunteered to give us everything that we needed to build a brand new ramp at our church. And we were going to bring a contractor in, but we said, hey, let's just do this from our heart. So all of our members, all of our workers, we got out there and we started to build a ramp from scratch. And it just touched his heart, as well as to see him touch, it touched our heart.
Yeah.
So that's where we are right now.
And that's just amazing, man. When God gives the vision, he also gives provision.
Right.
He provided, man. I mean, you talked about, you know, just the lumber, but even things, the food, the supplies, everything that God gave you all on that day was donated.
Right. To see all of those people see what we were doing and want to be a part of it, it made our heart glad, and it encouraged our people even more to work harder.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Man, that's amazing. And I love, now you talked about this church relaunch, and you talked about how Mount Moriah just kind of, this is a church that's been established.
Right.
You know, this is not a brand new church plant, if you will. You guys have been open, but God gave you the vision, you know, to really relaunch this church. And you initially started with just everything that was going on was geared towards relaunching Mount Moriah-Raleigh. But talk about what happened as a result of relaunching your ministry. Talk about some of the other things that God has done.
As a result of relaunching the ministry, momentum the momentum for the ministry just went to another level.
Okay.
It went to another level, and the people are so excited about. One of the first things that we talked about, our first series as pastor, was called Neighbors Know My Name. That was our first series as a pastor, and it was really because the truth of the matter is we know how to have church. You know, we know how to do church, and so I really wanted to gear the people to a place of community involvement, community development, understanding what the community is about. And so Neighbors Know My Name was appointed to getting our name out in the community and helping the community understand, hey, there's a church here that cares about you.
Yeah, and so because of that, Neighbors Know My Name, the ministry moving, relaunching, momentum is built. Not only are the members of McNair-Raleigh noticing,
Right.
but other people are now pulling on you.
Yes, sir.
Because of what God has done. And let's talk about that, because, you know, your vision was just to do what God called you to do, but he broadened your assignment as you were going along. Talk about what happens now as a result of that.
As a result of that, we are in a place now where we're getting ready to launch a new business.
Okay.
The new business is called Impact Consultancy.
Wow.
With this, it actually, Impact Consultancy provides guidance and training for small businesses, churches, and ministry who want to make their vision relevant, vibrant, and effective.
Yes, sir.
We specialize in staff development, business identity and excellence, and church relaunch strategy.
Okay.
It is very important that we push the business to help ministries become and help churches and small businesses become more competent in what they're doing. So that's really the force behind the business, to push staff members and everything to become more competent in what they're doing.
Right. And what's so amazing about this is this, you know, came about as a result of work that you were already doing.
Yes, sir. Yes,
you
sir.
know, not to knock anyone that sits down and writes down things and says, this is something I want to start. But really, it kind of just started on the go for you.
Right. It was actually in a year in the making.
Yeah.
A year in the making. I had the plans a year ago with the vision laid out, but it wasn't the time to go forward. And so here we are now, where people are pulling on the information, pulling on the strategies that we have used. And with us just releasing the announcement, over 20 clients have signed up just to be a part of what God is doing.
And you know, what's amazing is, although Impact Consultancy is just getting started,
right,
you yourself have been in this consultative role.
Yes, sir.
And have helped numerous ministries in the past. Talk about that. And really, let's talk a little bit more about this effectiveness and this excellence, if you will, that seems to be lacking in ministry. What does that really mean? What does that look like? And how have you been able to tackle that?
Well, the spirit of excellence is something that I've been teaching on for years. The spirit of excellence is when I'm operating in whatever I'm doing, I'm putting my best foot forward. I'm making sure that I'm overly doing it, overly pushing, that every endeavor is great in the sight of God. The spirit of excellence is something that's lacking in churches. And one of the things that I love to teach is what Bill Hybels taught, the 3 characteristics that every staff member, every church member should have. That is character, competence, and chemistry.
Wow.
And so we teach that. We teach that. And competence is one of the #1 things that I push the most, because we have a lot of people that don't understand that just because you're available doesn't mean you're ready. Just because you're willing and faithful doesn't mean that you're competent. And so we're pushing ministries to understand that you have to get to a place where you're prepared for what God is going to send you. Just like with Impact Consultancy, we believe that if you don't have a strong infrastructure, it's going to hurt your ministry. It's going to hurt your church. It's going to hurt your business. So we believe that a business is only as strong as the infrastructure and the systems that it's framed with. Without a strong infrastructure, the advancement that has the potential to come to you will cause you to crumble, because it will expose your weaknesses.
Wow.
And so we have to make sure that as church members, as business partners, or business employees, we have to make sure that we're competent in what we're doing. You know, and so that's where Impact Consultancy comes in. We're pushing ministries to be more competent, to be more faithful to their assignment, to understand that if you're competent, you will run to the place where you push initiative. People won't have to tell you what to do. You already know how to get the job done.
Yeah. And what I love about Impact Consultancy is this. Listen, there are many tremendous church consultative groups,
right,
and people that are out there. But one of the challenges that I've seen is that just access and affordability to some of these groups. I think one of the beautiful things about what you're doing is you're saying, I want to focus on this demographic that probably many would say need it the most, but really want to present them with opportunities. And again, this is not just church. I mean, you're talking about staff development. You're talking about graphic design. You're talking about marketing. You're talking about all these things that are powerful and really necessary to a business. Without these different pieces, you cannot expect growth, and you cannot expect profitability. So talk about that, man, how the burden just for those to be able to receive that information came about.
Well, I got a little bit of persecution because people say, hey, you only been in ministry this many years. You only been pastoring this many years. What qualifies you to bring this type of business to the body of Christ? And I answered that in this way because you may not be on the level of those who you admire are on. But you have to understand that there's people who admire you and are trying to get to the level you're at and you are on. And so you want to help people who can't reach those people. And so that's where Impact Consultancy comes in. We're trying to reach those different ministries, those different businesses who don't have access to that level. Excellence is on different levels, but as long as you're operating in excellence, you're fine.
Yeah, that's wonderful, man. And the thing about it is this, you can teach people certain things. You don't have to always be, well, I'm here, so this is the only way that I can teach it. No, you have the knowledge, the information. You've went to school, you've done the research, you've studied, and you said, this is what God has shown me. And then just the example of your own life, what you're doing. Let's talk about what are some of the challenges that churches face. Let's dig into this just for a few minutes, and then we'll kind of go forward. But let's talk about this with churches. What are some of the things that hinder progress? What are some of the problem areas that you all see and work with?
One of the biggest things is pride. We have this pseudo-intellectual mentality that we automatically know everything because it's churchy, because it's spiritual. We have this mentality that we know everything, we know how it's supposed to go, and so we don't want to submit to any type of training. We don't want to submit to any type of development to make ourselves better. That's where we run the risk of falling behind. There's a saying that the world changes every 4 years, but the church changes every 20 years. So the church is always 5 times behind the world in technology and advancement and development. And we don't want to get to that place. When it's time to change, we want to be able to make those changes, but we have to make sure that we're competent enough to be able to know what changes to make. It is a church that is innovative, that has its present in mind, but when you're innovative, you have your present in mind, but you're pushing towards your future. So it is important to make sure that our churches are very much competent to understand where they're going.
And if I may, I think one of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of churches are marketing towards people that are already there. Presenting things that look good to people that are already in the seats. Whereas with Impact Consultancy, even with that Neighbors Know My Name series, that actually derives from a song, some other things. And so marketing to those that we're trying to bring into the ministry and not just to where we are, not just putting something pretty for the people that are here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One of the things that I just talked about the other day with the individual was that we have to stop trying to attract us. We as the church, we're always trying to do things to impress each other. And it's almost to a spirit of competition where we have to do this to make us look better than them. And we have to make sure that we get to the place where we're trying to service the community. If we keep ignoring the community, then the community will begin to ignore that we exist. That's where many churches have to relaunch, because they have to reintroduce themselves to the community as an entity that cares for them. Because they have ignored what's outside the door so long, now the community has just forgot about their existence. They don't even see your building anymore. But you have to get to the place where you embrace the community and bring the community in and understand, hey, we're here for your needs.
Sure. Man, I love this. I love what God is doing in your life and in your ministry. And I love how you took this opportunity, yes, sir, to step up. And listen, when God gives you an avenue, when God gives you an opportunity, you have one thing that you must keep in mind, that it may not come again. So you've released a charge to people not to blow it. You know, don't blow the opportunity that God has given you to make impact. We only have a few minutes. Talk about that, man, and then leave it with an encouraging word for the people.
Well, I actually wrote a book entitled Don't Blow It. And one of the things that I focus on in the book is that we always ask God to change our situation, and we never ask God to change our mind. Because if God changes our situation and not our mind, then our mind will still be attached to the situation, although it's changed. And so our prayer has to be, God, change my mind, because if God changes our mind, we can change our own situation. And so don't blow it comes from, hey, he's giving you a gift. He's giving you a calling. He's giving you an opportunity. Listen, change your mindset. And don't blow this opportunity. Maximize the potential that you have. Maximize the opportunity that you have. And let God use you to go forward.
Speaking to someone right now, look into that camera, man, and continue on that path.
Well, I want to tell all of you who are small business owners, who are church leaders, who are ministry workers, I want to tell you that God has given you one opportunity. He's giving you one life. He's giving you a gift. He's giving you an assignment. Don't blow it. One of the things I talk about is the anatomy of a selfish church, and how we come in and we learn so much and we go back home. We learn so much and we go back home. We learn so much and we go back home, and we never duplicate what we learn. We ought to be pouring into somebody else, pushing somebody else to go to the next level, evangelizing to somebody else to bring them to another level in God.
Man, I have so enjoyed this time together tonight. I don't know about you, but I am encouraged. I'm fired up. I am ready to go into the community, to go out and to make an impact. I'm so encouraged by these tremendous men of God that have come tonight, that have given us the blueprint of what they're doing in their life and in their ministry. And I want to challenge you right now. There is somebody that is watching this broadcast. You say, I don't know how to do it. One of the things that my brother said is one of the biggest things that hinders a vision is never getting started. I want to challenge you to get started. Listen, I want you to do something. Call our prayer partners. I want some people to call in and just begin to speak those things that God has given you. Begin to call into the prayer partners. Let them know. Ask them to agree with you in prayer on those different endeavors. Tonight was about highlighting a tremendous men of God, but also about showing you how this can also be you. Oftentimes we are content with watching other people, but listen, I hope that tonight pushed you to say, I'm going to step out. I'm going to start something. I'm going to do it in my life. I want you to do that right now. Call our prayer partners and listen, how can you not sow a seed into this? I don't know about you, but I'm looking for the harvest. Listen, I was on the program tonight, but I'm going to sow into this program because I am expecting a harvest. Listen, we're getting ready to leave you, but I want to pray for you right now. And when you sow into this seed, when you sow into this ministry, we're going to send you that TCT Today devotional. But listen, I want to close this thing in prayer. God, I pray right now for someone that is watching this broadcast, that is sitting by saying, I want to do something. I want to step out. I pray right now that you would give them the courage, the strength, and the resolve to do it. You said in your word, God, that greater is he that is in us than he that is inside of the world. And because we have the greatest power on the inside of us, we know that we shall not be defeated. I come against that spirit of fear, any doubt, any procrastination. I command it right now to leave, and I speak power, I speak blessings, I speak victory, I speak prosperity. Even in your living room, lift your hands right now and say that I receive it. I believe that it's getting ready to happen. Friends, call in or sow into the ministry or ask for prayer. I believe God's getting ready to do it. Listen, I am so glad that you spent this Friday evening with us tonight on Triangle Alive. Thank you so much. I'm William Cooper III, again, the founder of William Cooper Ministries and the United Preachers Network. Connect with us. We're here for you. God bless you. Have a great night.
Jesus said, go into all the world and preach the gospel. Well, this network, TCT, is doing exactly that. But in order for it to continue to make it happen, you're going to have to sow seed. Give, and it shall be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall men give to your bosom. Join this giving project today and be a supporter of TCT.